where I want to start is with our layers and our new images model. Now, if I look at the layers tab, layers are just virtual disks that contain the file system objects and registry entries for that given layer. And you can see we layer all types of stuff, right? AppSense agents, the PVS target software, the XenApp VDA, antivirus, and of course, simple stuff like Firefox or Adobe or whatever. The trick here is that no matter how many different configurations you have, you're only going to have one copy of any given OS and one copy of its applications. So where this is easily seen, and I'm going to go to a list view for a second, I know it's harder to read, is when I compare a PVS screen on the left over here to my templates or my images on the right. Over here, I can see demo, desktop silo, EHR silo, engineering, geo, interns, kiosks, all these device collections in PVS, each one having a different vdisk, which typically, if they were all 2012 R2, when you go to crack one open to patch it, right, you make a copy, you mark it writable and private, you boot it up, you do your patching, you reseal it, right, you copy it back up, you then mark it as public and you push it out, and you rinse and repeat 10 or 11 or 12 times. In a Unidesk world, you would just make layered images that are essentially a collection of the specific software that silo needs, the operating system, obviously the XenApp VDA, the PVS target software. In this case, my demo environment only has 2 apps beyond that, OpenOffice and Firefox. But if I start looking at other ones like my EMR silo, there's my same server layer, same VDA layer, same PVS target software. There's Epic, there's Adobe, there's my AppSense agents. A little bit different of an image. Maybe I go down here to marketing. They got a little different stack. Windows Server, OpenOffice, WinRAR, GoToMeeting, there's my XenApp VDA. So now when I patch the VDA, I do it one time, I update all 10 or 12 of my images. When I update the PVS software, I do it one time, I push it out. When I update Office, I do it one time, even if it's in 7 of the images. And everybody who hasn't seen Unidesk before, that's what it looks like. I want to patch all of mine here, happen to be on 2012 R2. If I want to patch that, I select it. I select add a version. I tend to like to use dates for my versions because it tells me when they were last patched. This is what's called a platform connector. I'm actually dumping mine out to a share. I'm actually creating the image, the VHD or VMDK image. I'm pushing it out to a share. You also have the option of having a PVS connector, which will connect to the PVS target environment and copy it directly to the store that you dictate. In this case, I'm just making a packaging disk. And if I click create a version, it takes my existing layer, it duplicates it, and makes it mountable and writable so you can boot it up, run your patches, make your changes, come back here and tell it you're done. Yeah, I have a couple of versions of my gold image here. I did some guest services work, and then I did a patch on the 14th of this year. If I wanted to update one of my images, or all of them, whatever, let's edit this one. I'd come in, open up the OS layer, say, yep, let's update him to the latest version, save, and from that point I could hit publish and publish him out to the PVS servers. You now patch once, no matter how many images you have in PVS. The cool thing is what it looks like afterwards. Now let's log in here and just show you what this looks like really quickly. So this is my demo XA server, my demo XenApp server coming out of my device collection demo. And if we compare, let's go ahead and let's look at what I've assigned. I've assigned the PVS target software, the VDA, OpenOffice, Firefox, and of course Windows Server to that machine, or to that image, I should say. And when I look at add and remove programs, these were all individual layers, individual VHDs, that were compiled down into a single virtual disk that was then taken to my PVS store and made available for provisioning server. And in here, looks, acts, feels, and installed natively. There's actually layering magic happening to build the image. Once the image is built and handed off, that's it. There's no performance hit. There's no oh, I'm using a file system filter, it's falling through the filter, it adds, you know, half a second to find a file, or what. There's none of that. This is a natively installed app. It's just that the management is that you can go in there and patch once and distribute to everything. Now here's the really goofy thing. All of this stuff is stored out in my ELM share. The ELM is our enterprise layer manager. I create a share to dump all this in. And those of you that are familiar with Unidesk will start to see some familiar folders here, OS and apps. I only have 3 versions of my OS, so there's only 3 different VHDs out there. And under apps, there's a bunch of VHDs. Each one of those VHDs actually maps to the layers that are in Unidesk. And when I pick and choose which ones go into the layered image, we actually take those VHDs, we blend them together with the operating system and push it down. They come up, it's like the apps were natively installed. The cool thing is this same exact layer repository, which is nothing more than a share, right? It can be SMB3, it can be an NFS share, whatever, is also self-contained. These images and these layers are portable. So if I want to do DR and I have PVS in 2 sites, I replicate this directory from A to B. That's it. We aren't even, once we hand this off, we don't care what you do with it from there. And it gets even better. There's this little, it says layer assignments.txt. It's actually an XML file in format when you look at it. This talks about on-demand hot add layers based on user ID, user identity, and group membership. Now, what's the coolest thing? What does Ron think is really cool? This is great for XenApp. It's great for XenDesktop. This same concept of building layered images that can then be pushed to PVS, guess what? We'll push it to MCS. We'll push it to Composer. We'll allow you to upload that VHD right there to Azure Remote App. We'll let you upload it to Amazon. We don't care. We will build the target environment. Now, the first ones are obviously PVS. Automated connectors are going to be for PVS and Hyper-V, PVS and vSphere. Shortly thereafter, like I said, you can still do this and dump an image out just plain like this into the share and copy it to KVM on Acropolis. For Nutanix, you could copy it to MCS on Xen Server if you wanted. It's just a VHD. It's just a VM at that point. But the really cool thing are these app layers. The assignment of app layers. You look at anybody doing layering, almost anybody doing layering, they are moving farther and farther away from what's going to be supported in the cloud. When you're looking at a cloud-based application architecture, the problem with any layering tech, or almost any layering tech today, is they're mounting to the VM. They're calling Virtual Center, they're calling Xen Server, or they're calling whatever, and they're mounting a disk to the VM. When you look at cloud environments, or even if you look at Hyper-V with the local Azure pack, you typically don't have access in cloud environments to mount external disks. It all has to be done in guest. And even if you do have access, they limit the number of virtual disks you can actually mount. This is completely portable. I could take this entire file share, copy it somewhere, whether it's on-prem or off, leave that layer assignments XML file out there, and start putting guest services, the Unidesk guest services, as an agent inside the VMs, running in the cloud, running on-prem, whatever. And when someone logs in, all it knows is to look for a share, look for a specific UNC path, read that XML, and start mounting up applications. Now we're talking about DR in the cloud, replication of apps to the cloud, apps to different data centers, all completely portable in one centralized management piece.